And okay, so let's get started. Um, can I share here? Let me see here.
You should be able to share.
Okay, this is the annual meeting of the APA Private Practice Division. We have a presentation, so there's a slide for everything, including a slide at the end for questions and comments. It shouldn't take too long to go through this. Um, Unlike we more often over the last few years, we've been holding our annual meetings in the fall and not in the spring. But the APA now wants us to have our annual meeting within 60 days of the National Planning Conference, which would have been last month. But at least we're getting close to what they expect from us. And they also said that they want, where before they've been asking us to submit our budgets around October, November, and the work plan to support the budget, they now want the work plan and budget to be adopted and submitted to them by July 1st. So this annual meeting is different from prior annual meetings in that we will be presenting a work plan and budget for adoption by those who are in attendance. And we're looking forward to getting those adopted and moving ahead with the work plan. So to start off, this is our mission statement and this is what we're supposed to be doing. So if we're not doing it to your satisfaction, please let us know. That this is fairly recently adopted. We had one in 1988, and then we adopted another one in 2024. So this is pretty new. But basically, what it says is that we're trying to our efforts are on behalf of planners in private practice. There are certain aspects of private sector planning that don't go for planners in the public sector, and the private sector planners are vastly outnumbered in the American Planning Association. So we want the APA as a whole and public sector planners in particular to support what we do as planners in private practice. And we want to share our knowledge and expertise with public sector planners so that the state of planning is more advanced uh, due to our efforts. This is the agenda. This is what we're going to be covering today. Status reports, updates from the committee chairs, an overview of what the APA goals and initiatives are in relation to our own goals and initiatives. Then we'll be presenting the work plan, then the budget that goes that supports the work plan or the first year of the 2-year work program, and then we can open this up for discussion. Okay, these are the elected officers of the private practice division, and all of us are on this call. I've been serving as the chair. This is the end of my second 2-year term. And Dina Roadside was the chair before me. Brad is the vice chair, and he and I are term limited, so Brad will not be the vice chair going forward. And Jeff Ray is the secretary treasurer who was appointed to his position as secretary treasurer upon the resignation of Alyssa Barber-Torres. Alyssa, I think you're on the call, and we are very grateful for everything you did in the year or so that you were in that role. And we've been building on it since then. These are the additional members of the executive committee. Corey Hall serves as the communications chair, and he's been setting everything up. Vince is newly appointed as the professional development chair. Before Vince was appointed, Brad Strader was had two hats. He was the vice chair and the professional development chair. So this is a big relief to get somebody to take over that job on a as a sole responsibility. And Vince has been just burning it up. He's getting a lot done in the short time since he's been appointed. Owen is co-chair of mentorship, and he is actively working on behalf of new and emerging planners with Alexis McWilliams, who is our student representative and Owen's co-chair on membership. Adam Rush is newly appointed to the membership chair. When Jeff was appointed to be secretary treasurer, that created an opening, and Adam has stepped in to fill that role. And membership growth is one of our main objectives, so that's a really important job. Mark is a member at large, and he is, I guess you call it the sage of the PPD Executive Committee. He's got a lot of experience, and he's been sharing it with us, and we really appreciate that. Okay. This is, by the way, from the National Planning Conference, this picture. I kind of like it. People paying attention to whatever's being said in the anyway. And Paul Farmer on the left is the past executive director of the APA. So we got him to our reception. Okay, this is our financial report and shows what our budget is and how much we spent through the end of April. In relation to our budget. We started off with a lot of money in relation to, more than the amount of our annual budget as our opening balance. And we budgeted to end up with more money than when we started. And our actual expenses are well below the amounts that we budgeted in terms of revenue and expenses. So the net revenue over expenses is ahead of what we've been budgeting. We have some items that communications. Corey is working hard to implement a communications grant and to spend some of our additional money that we budgeted for communications to basically upgrade our formats and the graphics that we use to communicate with members. So that's the one outstanding expense that we haven't spent yet, and we haven't. Hold on a second. There's one other thing that for the APA conference, I guess we did spend the $1,000. Our share of the conference reception is on there. A minute, I thought it wasn't. So anyway, this is how what we budgeted and how much money we spent so far. This is an interesting graph. Membership of the non-students, people who actually pay their dues, I guess you could say, has been very stable over the past 5 or 6 years. And the total membership has been affected by the fall and recovery of student membership. We started off with, in 2019, we had 700 student members. We went all the way down to 129, and now we're back up to 316 student members. And in the meantime, the non-student membership has been essentially a straight line all the way through the pandemic and everything. It's just always the same. And I'm a little frustrated by that, but we got Adam on the job now, and hopefully we'll do a better job of attracting in new members. Are required to do a survey every 2 years of our membership. And this is not the year that we are required to do the survey. So this is a repeat of the 2024 member survey, which was conducted in towards the end of 2024. I think it was in September, Jeff, some thereabouts. And
Yeah, it was in the fall of 24.
yeah, so and Jeff conducted the survey and compiled the results. And this is basically the same slide that we put in our 2024 uh, annual meeting presentation, because we haven't had a new survey, and this is what we're trying to do. And I think we've made some good progress, in this 6 or so months since we got these survey results. But you can see that you would expect most of our members to be in the private sector, and 90% of them are. And I think the most significant thing is that 51% of the respondents work as a sole proprietor or at firms that employ fewer than 10. So, of all of the planners who work in private practice, the private practice division represents, so what I would say would be a disproportionate number of small practices, 1 or 2 people um, practicing planners. So that's where our focus is mainly, trying to help planners who are working in small firms to compete more effectively with planners who are working in large firms. Okay, this is just going to kind of open it up here. These are the committees that we have, and I invite Corey and Adam, Owen. I'm going to ask Owen to speak for David Woods and Dina and Vince to sort of go through what their committees have been working on and progress and so forth. So Corey, you go first.
Thank you, Steve. Our communications committee, we have been focusing on making sure we're communicating to our members effectively, making sure that they're aware of all of the activities we have going on, whether it's monthly conversations, our couple of webinars we've done recently, and we're going to be doing more of those through our professional development committee. But then also working to engage our committee members, our division members, on follow-up conversations, primarily through engaging on follow-up questions on LinkedIn, where people can engage and follow up that conversation that we have in this kind of setting, then take that further and have additional follow-up discussions in that other forum. We're looking to expand some of our opportunities this year and on enhancing our communication efforts on social media, using our PPD handbook we've created a couple of years ago to really kind of highlight some of those resources that are in that handbook and to the benefit of the members. So we're going to be trying to do that. And that's what our communications grant that Steve talked about earlier really focuses on, is pulling out some bite-sized pieces of that that we can communicate effectively with our members. I think that's about it for me, Steve. Thanks.
Well, that's a lot of work. So we appreciate what you've been doing, and Corey keeps us committee members in touch with each other, as well as coordinating the what do you call it? Stage managing the conversations that we've had. So we lean heavy on Corey. Adam, you want to talk a little bit about membership and what you like to do, or what we've been doing?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So in the goal of trying to gain new membership, primarily been working with, I'm in California, so the two sections that I'm a part of, Inland Empire and Los Angeles, primarily, I'm also on the board of the Inland Empire section for the APA. We put out a newsletter. We put out a newsletter quarterly, and we're fortunate to be able to write an article that should be going out here this week. It's been a bit delayed. I'll can't share my screen here, but it's not necessary. I'll put the link for it in the chat. But it's full page article that just makes everyone aware of the PPD. Most of the colleagues that I speak with either have heard about it or don't really know, but don't know what the benefits are or haven't heard of it at all. So I've been doing a lot of outreach individually to firms that I work with, their managers and principals, and been engaging with them on efforts to, either subsidize the cost or cover the cost for their employees, because everything's expensive out here. And even though it's relatively low bar as far as the membership fee, it kind of seems to be the, additional feedback is, oh, well, I don't really see the benefit right now of, paying an additional 25, $30. So educating them on what the benefits are, working with firms like Michael Baker, AECom, which are some of the big ones out here, MNS, PlaceWorks, and trying to get information to their managing members on, hey, this is a benefit, and we should definitely be subsidizing that cost. I'm going to be putting out a quarterly letter, quarterly article update in our local newsletter, and so that gets distributed to quite a few individuals. We have over 3,000 planners on our email list, and then we post it on social media. Been doing regular updates on LinkedIn, so really just trying to get the word out. I'm most hopeful that engaging with these large firms that do employ dozens of private practice and planners, um, that'll be fruitful. Secondly, in the events that we have, whether it be young and emerging planners or our um, our training events, we had our APA awards, section awards last month. Talking to folks, giving out my business card, and sending them the link to sign up. I even try to do a little sweepstakes, so if you sign up now, I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. Although I don't even think that buys like a foo-foo coffee drink anymore. It's like $6.50, but I don't drink Starbucks. So
Yeah. Well, I want to mention in the context of membership that the private practice handbook that we completed under Dina's leadership late in 2023 is offered as a membership benefit. And we've been telling people that you have to be a member of the private practice division to get the handbook. So what I'm what I'm thinking now is that we need to broaden that, because you can join the private practice division for 1 year and get the handbook, and then we don't, then we lose you. So,
that's definitely included in all of my conversations.
okay. So, I was thinking one reason that, we're not growing our members is because we're getting people, they're joining 1 year and leaving the next year. So, and I also want to mention, and this is kind of a developing story, put it that way, that the APA starting in the next fiscal year, and this is not widely known at this point, but starting in the next fiscal year, they're going to bump up the dues by $10, and then that entitles every renewing member to a quote free unquote division membership. So we're going to be working very hard to make sure that renewing members who are not already members of any division, uh, will consider the private practice division as the division they want to join for free. And it costs everybody $10, but every division will get more money than that for
Yeah.
each member that joins.
No, I've been telling everybody, and that's also what was included in the article is that, dues are going up. And so the time to join is now if you're interested, otherwise it's just going to become more expensive.
Yeah. So we want to show that they get value for that extra $10 by joining the private practice division, and they'll get more value um, than if they join some other division. At least that's what I don't want to compete too heavily against other divisions, but we certainly want our private practice division to be the first one they consider.
Yeah, we do have our section does have we have two large events coming up. Historical symposium next month, and then a planning commission training. We're going to be selling 75 tickets to planning commissioners. I know that they have their own chapter, but there will be a lot of planners that will be coming from there to meet those commissioners, and it's going to be a big event. So I was gonna uh coordinate with Corey here in the future. Maybe we could do like, a little trifold or a little postcard or something like that with the website, a little blurb about the handbook and hand that out. And I think that'll be a good way to disseminate information because from my perspective, where I'm, in my world, it seems like there is a lack of education on what the benefits are. So I think that's the first hurdle we need to overcome.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's move on. Bowen, you want to talk about mentoring, and then you can hold the floor and talk about the FIRCP committee as well.
Okay. Um, Thank you for joining us this afternoon. This is kind of like an earnings call. You hopefully want all the messages to be positive, so everybody sees where you're going. But then, obviously you don't accomplish everything you'd like to do. The mentoring program is a pretty big push and a departure from things that have been done before. We've had lots of emails among divisions trying to encourage other divisions to send their younger emerging members to us for guidance, counseling, and career development. I have, for those that don't know, I'm a faculty member at UCF, so that gives me a very large population of young planners that I've stayed in touch with and have encouraged them to listen to our conversations, perhaps entertain the idea of being mentored. But so
Yeah,
far, I've had a lot
UCF
of
is the University of Central Florida. Let's get that in there. So, okay, go on.
So that's the advertisement for the University of Central Florida. I'm also an advisory board at the Florida State University planning program. So again, I do have access to a lot of different students that I stay in touch with. All seem to be interested in what we do. Most people in planning, and I think William Ross, since you were speaking a few minutes ago, I mean, I think you would follow the typical career pathway. Many years in public sector, only somewhat acquainted with what we do in private practice. And it's an adjustment in thinking because most people that are coming out of school in particular are rarely exposed to anything other than public opportunities. The private opportunities that are offered are significantly in transportation planning. They are not, in most jurisdictions related to other fields. Florida is unusual in that there are a lot of private planning firms that do a variety of things. But in any case, bottom line is lots of communication, some hopeful discussion, no really important advancements to announce. If there is something worth announcing, the parties that I've had the strongest interest in being mentored are really mid-career and returning planners who have been away from the profession for a while. And this is something I observed literally in the first couple of weeks of assuming this position. And I think it's an issue that needs to be revisited. And I don't think we need to bog the call in on that now. I think the message is the private practice division stands strongly for mentoring. It stands strongly for exposing students and others in the public sector that don't know that private practice is a wonderful option, if not a major opportunity. Clearly, we want to grow our membership and sensitize others and expose others to what you can do inside the private practice area. Part of something that's a little new this year, as we speak to the transition year to FAICP, both Steve and I are members of FAICP. I'm not sure who else on this call is, have been members for a long time. David Woods, who's not on the call, is a member of FAICP. And Deanna, I guess you are. After that, I'm a little vague as to who's on the call. But the point is historically, the different divisions have stood for their members and recommended them for FAICP membership. We took a concerted effort to do that this year. And I think the committee has 4 or 5 people on it. David is the chair. And all of us, including the chair, have taken on a mentor. The next milestone for this group, each with their own candidate in tow, is July the 11th. On July the 11th, FAICP, those actually reviewing the applications, have agreed to an opportunity to let an early group submit and review the applications for effectively for sufficiency. And based on criticism or observations in the sufficiency period, those applications would be returned to the members for adjustment and resubmission without prejudice. And I think that that's a pretty exciting change in practice and in policy for the FAICP group that reviews. And I believe that all our candidates are going to meet this July the 11th deadline and get what is effectively a complete package in to understand what additional work, if any, may be necessary. And that's it for my 2 committee reports.
Okay.
A lot done, or a lot of movement, some major accomplishments, some new ideas.
Thank you, Owen. And Alexis is not on the call with us, but she is the student representative who's working with Owen on this, on the student engagement. And I think we have an ace with Owen because of his connections to planning schools and the private practice division that gives us some influence over planning education that maybe we wouldn't be in a position to have without Owen. So we appreciate that. Dina, you've been very busy with nominations. Could you tell us where we are and what our members should expect?
Sure, I'm happy to. The private practice division holds elections for its elected officers every 2 years. The executive committee of the private practice division is made up of those elected officers which comprise the chair position, vice chair position, secretary position, and treasurer position. In addition to that, the executive committee has a number of non-elected people positions as well. And this year, we made those non-elected positions official by changing our bylaws to have both elected and non-elected members of the executive committee. Coming up is the election for the elected officials They are, again, the vice chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer. Let me give you the schedule. I will talk about who our candidates are in a minute, but let me give you the schedule for elections so that you can pay attention to when the ballots will be out and hopefully will participate in this election. It's really critical because it will determine who is in leadership positions for the next 2 years as a minimum for the private practice division. So ballots will be available through APA online on August 6th. The deadline for voting and for APA to receive the ballots is September 5th. So there's a 1-month period where you can vote. In mid-September, the election results are certified. And then the new elected positions take place January 1st. Our executive committee elected officials can be elected for 2-year terms, and they can renew those terms for 1 additional term. As Steve mentioned, he is now finishing up his 2nd term as the chair of the division. This year, we have a really terrific, strong slate. And you will see the names of and the qualifications of the candidates on the APA site when it comes out on August 6th. The chair candidate is Jeff Ray, who is right here and has been active on the executive committee. We have 2 people running for the vice chair position. One is Corey Hull, who is right on our screen as well. And the other is Bob Barber, who I don't believe is on the call today. Their qualifications for all of these positions will be on the APA site. The secretary position has 2 people running for it. Brad Strader, who has served 2 positions for the last 4 years with on the executive committee, and not the secretary position. He is now running for the secretary position. And Adam Rush is also, who's on our screen, is also running for the secretary position. And then there's one person, Tanya De Oliveira, who's running for the treasurer position. You'll see their quals again on the APA election site. And I hope that you take the time to read their qualifications and to vote starting August 6th. Any questions?
Well, we can do questions at the end, but that's thank you. And thank you very much for getting that slate together and getting the ballots coordinated with the APA. It's I think we do have a strong slate, and I'm looking forward to having someone else be the chair. Put it that way. As much as I've enjoyed it, it takes a certain amount of effort, a level of effort, and I appreciate Jeff for stepping up to that. Okay, professional development. I say Vince for last because the next 2 slides are about the conversations and webinars. So take it away, Vince.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much, Steve. One of the things that we have tried to do is make the conversations that Steve talked about earlier and the webinars more robust, and trying very hard to have them once a month. Of course, certain times of the year are more difficult than others, especially the holiday season. But as you can see from the list that Steve just put up on the PD conversations, We we're booked through September, and we're going to work through the next 3 months to see how many more we can get. Let me explain the difference between the two, and I'm sure one of my more senior colleagues on the board, because I've only been had the privilege of doing this since February, I believe, are much more experienced, and they can talk about these. But there's a common thread between the two, and I believe the common thread that I've seen are topics that are current that we think our members will enjoy talking about, and perhaps people from other divisions, other members of APA. Having said that, the conversations traditionally are for our members an hour long, and while they're open to anyone, we typically see most of the registrations coming from our membership. The webinars are completely different. That's for professional development credit, and they're opened up to anyone. We have solidified our membership with the Ohio Webcast Planning Series. And if you are not familiar with that, please allow me to take maybe 60 seconds to explain that. It is a service that the Ohio chapter of APA, or more formally known, they call themselves the Ohio Planning Association.
Vince, would you like the next slide?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. And what we've done is work with them. The fee is very, very low, and they actually do most of the work. We get the speakers, the title, and send the information to them, and they organize it and put it online and send out the registration link. We've had we actually had 2 in 6 days this spring, and May 30th on Housing Supply Accelerator. 2 staff members from APA were on board for that, including Owen, also including Owen Beisch, who handled the finance end of it. Very, very good webinar. On June 5th, our own Brad Strader was the moderator, and he put together a panel of 3 speakers that did a fine job of explaining multimodal transportation impact studies. We are going to tentatively work on one for August for preparation of our RFP, and then raising the profile of private practice planners in September. And towards the end of the year, we're trying to work on maybe 1 or 2 more, and one tentative topic would be emerging issues. APA puts out a report usually every year, but we thought it might be a good idea to have a session on that and geared towards private practice planners. So that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, try to answer them.
I see Owens raised his hand.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment if I could,
Sure.
because I do have some feedback only based on my one experience. I sent a personal email to all of my students, and I know that in the course of the Housing Supply Accelerator session, I had at least 25 of my students listen to at least part. I'm not sure I'm going to commit that they listen to the whole thing, but at least they turned into the station. So, I mean, I think these webinars are incredibly valuable for getting our message out, just based on that one anecdotal example. And Vince and Brad, bless your hearts, you've done a fabulous job. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. And I think we're ready for the next set. Oh, yeah, here we are. This is a review of our presence at the National Planning Conference. And to pick up on what Owen just said, planners in private practice have a lot to contribute, and I don't think our voice is being heard as loudly as it should be. And Dan Paralek was the one who initiated the topic of raising the profile of planners in private practice. He was the only, or practically the only member of the private practice division. There were 1 or 2 others who led a session at the National Planning Conference. And when I told him that he was the only one, he brought up the point that planners in private practice don't get the attention from the APA as a whole that we deserve. So Dan's session was very well received, and I attended a number of sessions that the private practice division had endorsed, and I usually had something to say on behalf of planners actually in private practice that had not been covered uh, by the speakers at those sessions. So we need to step up, and I would encourage anyone in the private practice division to consider submitting a session for the National Planning Conference in Detroit. Our networking inception with the Transportation Planning Division covers a lot of stuff that might be covered in technical sessions if the technical sessions reflected the private practice perspective a little better. So the reception is an important part of the conference for our division, for our members. And you can see that the entire all elected officers of the private practice division were at the reception for the conference, and here we are, smiling and happy. So I think we did a lot on behalf of private sector planners at the National Planning Conference in 2025. And we're going to do even more in 2026 because Brad, our own Brad Strader, is playing a very active role as a host, I guess you could say, for on behalf of Detroit. Brad, is there anything you want to say about the NPC 26?
Well, I'm looking forward to the conference being in Detroit. I hope many of you will arrive. I'm actually was on a committee today looking at mobile workshops, and I'm the only private sector planner on a committee of like 30, 35 people. All the rest work for nonprofits or City of Detroit or other governments. So I'm doing my best to make sure the private practice division gets recognized both with sessions and mobile workshops. So hopefully you guys will submit a session proposal, both from the Michigan APA group or the committee that I'm on. Hopefully I can screen and help endorse those sessions. And if you have ideas for mobile workshops or want to be interested in mobile workshops, let me know. So look forward to seeing you all in Detroit next April.
The call for sessions for NPC 26 is coming up very soon, but nobody apparently knows exactly when. But the turnaround is shorter than we would like it to be. So be ready. And when they do a call for sessions, please submit a session. And if you do submit a session, please let us know at the private practice division. Even if your session isn't selected for the conference, we can still look at your session proposal and hopefully uh, provide you with a platform for whatever you had planned to say at the National Planning Conference, either through the webinars or the conversations or something. So we are very interested in knowing as far in advance as possible about any member of this division that has submitted a session proposal. And if your proposal is selected, that's great. We will be happy to work with you to make sure that it's everything it can be on behalf of your fellow planners in private practice. Okay, this is just an overview of what we're trying to do. The APA strategic goals are pretty much the same as they have been. Equity was a big theme at the National Planning Conference, and I think there was some concern especially in the first 3 months of this year, and maybe an ongoing concern that DEI was going to be kind of prohibited or prevented or obstructed. But the National Planning Conference was I was DEI or die, put it that way. We were committed to DEI equity with the association, just is planning to move forward as strongly as it can. Voice of planning is a lot of what we've been talking about, making planners more important to the community at large and letting people know that professional planners uh, are contributors to the success of the communities they serve. Planners need to be better at what planners do. And we have a conversation on Development Finance 101 next week with Owen, so that would provide you with some skills and knowledge that a lot of planners need to have but don't. So we're working on that. Digital relevance is just to make sure that we're using whatever is currently important and popular. Uh, and it's a little beyond me at my age, but Corey's doing a great job of keeping us in touch digitally. And there are initiatives, we mentioned universal division membership. Welcoming environment is related to making sure that everyone in the APA gets the respect that he deserves as an individual, as regardless of their ethnic background or uh, gender or status, whatever. And as we've talked about the housing supply accelerator, that's something that the APA is pushing because the major crisis in the country right now is affordable housing, and planners can play a leading role in resolving this widespread national problem. And that's what we're trying to do. For the private practice division, we're still promoting DEI. As I mentioned, we're advocating with APA on behalf of private practice planners. We want all professional planners to get the rewards that planners deserve, especially in relation to architects, engineers, and landscape architects. And we haven't talked about it much in this presentation, but we are working very hard and have had some success with the APA to get the APA to offer or endorse or facilitate liability insurance for all APA members, especially APA members in private practice. And I think we have made some headway there. We've talked about our own initiatives. I think every one of those um, we've mentioned so far, except the bylaws update. And the bylaws have been updated at the beginning of this year. And as Dina mentioned, they more explicitly address the role of appointed members of the executive committee. Okay, now I think we're getting into the real meat of the presentation here. The work plan. By the way, this picture is from Dan Paralick's session. You can see that it was well attended. And Dan Paralick is seated on the right in that picture. Okay, this is our work plan.
Steve, I want to have everybody keep in mind that we're running short of our time. So,
Oh, really? Damn.
yes.
Well, I'm sorry for that. We've got these were all posted, by the way, on the website, and I would like to get a vote for the work plan. Let me see. I'm not exactly sure how to go backwards on this thing. There we go. Okay, so communications is pretty much a continuation of what we've been doing. And we would again submit a grant next year for communications like we did this year. And Corey has talked about creating a YouTube channel because we're getting all this content from the conversations and the webinars, but it's hard to access those for members who can't attend them in real time. So we're going to try to fix that. I think that takes care of pretty much communications, Corey, unless you got something you want to add.
No, nothing else to add.
All right. Professional development, Vince and Brad have talked about that. I mentioned, promoting the private practice handbook as a tool for professional development. We've talked a lot about expanding and promoting PPD member involvement in technical sessions. We're trying to provide events with CM credits because that's it's important for us to boost attendance and membership to offer that to our members. We talked about recruiting and nominating potential fellows. And the mentorship program, as Owen mentioned, is still coming together. So we will keep working on that. Leadership, basically, this says we're going to be working with other divisions, and we've tried to be as we've worked hard at leadership meetings and training sessions to represent planners in private practice. So before each of the past two annual conferences, the conversation uh, has been what do we need to take to our leadership meetings? And those conversations have been very helpful for me as the chair to represent you all as members of the private practice division. See, D is member engagement. Adam talked about that. And these are what we're going to be doing in the work program for the next 2 years, including the member survey. And yeah, so we didn't do one this year, so we'll have to do one next year. And then we'll follow up on it, use the private practice division to recruit new members. We'll try to we're working on sending in a welcome message to new members when they arrive and some kind of a message to members when we lose them to find out what we could have done differently to keep them as members. And that's number 6. Administration, this is basically doing what we're doing right now. We're supposed to update the bylaws every 2 years, so that'll be in the second year. And also in the second year, we'll be having to hold elections again. Basically, this is us doing our job to keep you all informed and engaged, and to make sure that we're representing private practice division members effectively. So, hold on before we get to the budget. Having run through this and noting that the work plan has been posted, I would invite a motion and a second and a vote on to approve our work plan. And I'm sorry if it's been rushed, but I think we've had a pretty good conversation so far.
Steve, I
If
move
this
to
can
approve the
come from
budget.
board members, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Who seconded it?
Jeff Ray.
Jeff, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now let's see here. Go back to our program. Got very little left here to present, just the budget. Okay, so the budget is for fiscal 26 is not a lot different from the budget that we have right now. And like I mentioned, the dues, we know it's going to change, but we don't know how. So our instructions from the division council leadership is to leave the revenue, at least from dues, the same as what the dues were in the prior year budget. And the grants would be for the communication grant. We have a program development grant that we'd like to apply for. And they told us this afternoon that we'd get $500 in grant money so that the chair-elect will be able to participate in the fall leadership meetings along with the chair. So that's different from what was posted today. Uh, we haven't talked about a sponsorship program, but that's something we'd like to develop so that we have some additional revenue stream from firms that would want to sponsor conversations or webinars. So that would give us our revenue. And in communications, I bumped the budget for communications down because this is the year that we're contracting to change all our graphics, and we're using the money from the grant and some money from our own budget. So presumably, whatever we get this year, we'll be able to carry forward next year. There's additional travel because the amount that we had budgeted wasn't quite sufficient, to be honest. And we're also going to be budgeting for the chair-elect to attend the leadership meetings in the fall, along with the chairs, to ensure that there's a smooth transition. MailChimp is a tool that Corey uses um, to communicate with the members effectively. And the CM fee is what we pay so that we can offer CM credits for the webinars. So that's our budget. And once again, I would invite a motion and a second to get the budget approved.
Corey, I'll make that motion.
All right. Second.
I second it.
Okay, Dina, second. All in favor of the budget, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay. So the motion is passed, and the membership invited to this meeting has voted to endorse or adopt our budget and work plan. Thank you all very much. Okay. What now? And I'm sorry to Steve if I haven't really allowed much room for conversation, and I don't know what time it is right now. We're a little bit over. So my apologies for not giving everyone who might have wanted to speak an opportunity to do so. But are there any comments, questions, concerns at this point in the meeting? All right. Well, thank you for bearing with us, and we look forward to keeping you involved. You know, we have another opportunity to convene next week. Owen will be talking about the development finance 101. Is that the way we call it? How finance development gets paid for. And I think that from what we learned in the Housing Supply Accelerator, that's something that all of us need to know a little bit more about, and Owen's the one to share it with us. So if that's all from the membership, as the chair, I will declare the meeting adjourned, and thank you all for coming out on this Friday afternoon, and hope you have an enjoyable weekend.
Thank you too.
Okay,
You too.
thanks.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, everyone.